The first time Olivia Harper realized no one was coming to save her. She was sitting on the floor in her wedding dress. White satin pooled around her like spilled milk. Her veil had slipped crooked over one shoulder. Her hands, trembling and cold, clutched the edge of a velvet chair she could not climb into without help. Beyond the bridal room door, the church organ was already playing the opening notes of the ceremony. Soft and holy and cruel. Her wheelchair was gone. Not misplaced, not moved for convenience. Gone. Olivia had spent 10 minutes dragging herself across the carpet, calling for someone, anyone, until her throat burned. Her bridesmaids had disappeared in a storm of silk and perfume, giggling as if they had not just taken the only way she could move through the world with dignity. Then the door cracked open. Madison, her maid of honor, and Ethan's younger sister, peeked inside with a smile sharp enough to cut lace. "Olivia," she whispered, as if scolding a child. "Don't make this dramatic." Olivia looked up from the floor. "Where is my chair?" Madison's smile hardened. Behind her, two bridesmaids hovered in pale champagne dresses, their eyes shining with cruel excitement. "We put it somewhere safe," Madison said, just until after the entrance photos. Olivia stared at her. "You hid my wheelchair. It doesn't match the aesthetic." Madison stepped inside and closed the door behind her, muffling the organ. "The photographer said the aisle shots would look cleaner if you walked with Ethan." "I don't walk down aisles." "Madison, you could try." One of the other bridesmaids laughed softly. "It's like 20 feet. Olivia's face went hot, then cold. She had known Ethan's family cared about appearances. She had known they edited every dinner, every vacation, every public smile into something polished enough to frame, but she had not known they would strip her dignity from her on the one day she had prayed to feel beautiful. "Bring it back," Olivia said. Madison tilted her head. "Ethan agrees this is best." That struck harder than the floor beneath her. Olivia's lips parted. Ethan knows Madison's eyes flicked away for half a second. "Enough." The answer slid into Olivia's ribs like a blade. Her groom knew. Her groom had allowed this. The man who had kissed her hand in hospital hallways. The man who had promised her that her wheelchair was not something he accepted, but something he honored because it was part of her life. The man waiting at the altar beneath a cathedral ceiling, while his sister and friends forced his bride to beg for her own mobility. He said he didn't want a scene. Madison added, softer now, almost pitying. "You know how nervous he gets." Olivia gave a broken laugh. It came out more like a gasp. "A scene," she whispered. "I'm the scene," Madison sighed. "You beautiful." "Olivia, you really are. But the chair makes people uncomfortable. Today is supposed to be perfect." The word perfect shattered something inside her. Olivia looked down at her dress, the dress she had chosen because it made her feel like herself. Not a softened apology. Long sleeves of lace, a fitted bodice, a full skirt that moved like moonlight around her chair whenever she turned. She had imagined rolling through the church with her head high, her father's old silver locket at her throat, Ethan waiting with tears in his eyes. Now she was on the floor. The music outside changed. The processional was beginning. Madison checked her phone. "We have 2 minutes. Either let one of the groomsmen carry you, or stay here until after the ceremony. Ethan can explain that you had a panic attack." Olivia's eyes lifted slowly. "Get out." Madison blinked. Olivia's voice shook, but it did not break. "Get out of this room." For a moment, Madison looked offended. Then she rolled her eyes, gathered her bridesmaids with one hand, and stepped back into the hallway. "You're embarrassing yourself," she said. The door closed. Olivia sat in silence as the laughter from outside faded into music. She tried not to cry. She failed. The first tear slipped down her cheek, then another. Not because she needed caring, not because she needed pity, but because everyone beyond that door was waiting for a bride. And the people who claimed to love her had decided the real version of her was too inconvenient to be seen. Then footsteps stopped outside the room. Not the frantic tapping of bridesmaids' heels. Not Ethan's careful, anxious shuffle. These footsteps were slow, heavy, controlled. The door opened without a knock. A man stood in the doorway, tall and still as a shadow thrown by candlelight. Olivia had seen him once that morning from across the church courtyard. Black suit, white shirt open at the throat, no tie. Dark hair brushed back from a face too calm to belong in a wedding. There had been men with him, broad-shouldered, silent, watching the crowd instead of the bride and groom. Guests had whispered his name like a warning. Damien Rousseau, the mysterious guest from Boston. The man Ethan's mother had personally asked the ushers to seat in the front pew despite the priest's discomfort. The man whose reputation made bankers lower their voices and politicians pretend not to recognize him. A mafia boss. People said, not loudly, never loudly. His eyes moved over the room once. The empty space where her wheelchair should have been. The marks on the carpet where she had dragged the heavy skirt. Her hand gripping the chair. The tears she was too late to hide. Something changed in his face. Not softness. Something worse. Stillness. Who did this? He asked. His voice was low. Smooth. Almost gentle. Olivia wiped her cheek with the back of her hand. It doesn't matter. It matters to me. You don't even know me. His gaze held hers. I know enough. The church organ swelled beyond the door. Guests murmured, somewhere. A woman laughed. Damien stepped inside and closed the door behind him. Olivia's pulse jumped. Fear, instinctive and sharp, rose beneath her ribs. He carried danger with him, the way some men carried cologne. But he did not come closer at first. He stood several feet away, hands visible, giving her the space no one else had. Where is your chair? He asked. My bridesmaids hid it. His jaw flexed once. My groom knew, Olivia added, because the truth was uglier when spoken aloud. Damien's eyes darkened. For a long second, he said nothing. Then he looked toward the door, and Olivia felt the temperature in the room drop. I'll find it. No. The word came out fast. He looked back. Olivia swallowed. I don't want to chase my own dignity through a church hallway while everyone waits. Something like understanding passed behind his eyes. Outside, the music shifted again. The doors to the nave were about to open. Damien crossed the room slowly and lowered himself to one knee in front of her. The movement should have looked strange from a man like him, powerful, feared, dressed like a threat among roses and white ribbon. Instead, it made the room feel suddenly quiet enough to hear her own heartbeat. I can carry you, he said. Olivia stared at him. No, she whispered. His expression did not change. Then tell me what you want. No one had asked her that all morning. Not Ethan. Not Madison. Not the wedding planner fussing with flowers. Not her mother, who had died 3 years earlier and would have burned this church to the ground before letting anyone touch Olivia's chair. What do you want? The question loosened the knot in Olivia's throat. I want them to see me, she said. Damien's gaze lowered to her dress, her shaking hands, her bare shoulders beneath the veil, then back to her face. Then they will. He held out his arms, but he did not touch her. Olivia looked at him for a long, breathless second. You Damien Rousseau, she said. Yes. People are afraid of you. They should be. Should I be? His eyes flickered, almost with pain. But the moment was gone before she could name it. Not today. The answer should not have comforted her. It did. Olivia nodded once. Damien moved with shocking care. One arm slid beneath her knees, the other behind her back. He lifted her as if she weighed nothing, as if the satin, the tears, the humiliation, the entire broken morning had become something he could carry without strain. Her breath caught, instinctively. She gripped his shoulder. He smelled faintly of winter air, expensive smoke, and rain that had not yet fallen. "Hold on to me," he said. Olivia hated that she did, loved that he waited until she did. Then Damien Russo opened the bridal room door. The hallway froze. Madison stood 10 feet away with Olivia's bouquet in her hands. The other bridesmaids had gathered near the entrance to the nave, pretending not to listen. Ethan's mother, Vivian Whitmore, turned from a conversation with the wedding planner, pearls gleaming at her throat, and went pale. Damien looked at Madison. "Give her the flowers." Madison's mouth opened. Damien did not raise his voice. He did not need to. Now, Madison stepped forward, as if pulled by a wire, and placed the bouquet against Olivia's hands. Olivia took it, trembling. Damien carried her past them. The great church doors stood closed at the end of the hall. Behind them, 200 guests waited under stained glass windows and garlands of white roses. Olivia could hear the whispering already. It spread like fire. "Is that Russo? Why is he carrying her? Where's her wheelchair? Did something happen?" Damien paused before the doors and looked down at Olivia. "This is the last chance to turn around," he said quietly. Olivia's throat tightened. "Will you?" "No." A strange, dangerous warmth entered his voice. "But I'll follow you anywhere you choose." That was the first time Olivia Harper understood that Damien Russo did not make promises like other men. He made them sound like verdicts. The doors opened. Sunlight poured through the church, bright and merciless. Every head turned, cameras lifted. The string quartet faltered. Ethan Whitmore stood at the altar in a pale gray suit. Perfect hair, perfect smile, perfect cowardice draining from his face as his bride entered another man's arms. A gasp rolled through the crowd. Damien carried Olivia down the aisle. Not quickly, not apologetically. He walked as if the church belonged to him and every guest inside had been summoned to witness judgment. Olivia kept her chin high. Though her eyes burned, she saw Vivian Whitmore's face harden in the front pew. She saw Madison standing rigid behind her, bouquetless and stunned. She saw Ethan's mouth moving soundlessly, his eyes darting from Olivia to Damien to the guests filming the moment. And then she saw something else. In the back of the church, near the last row, a man in a navy suit reached into his jacket. Damien saw it too. His body shifted around her before Olivia understood why. 1 second, she was exposed beneath the stained glass. The next, Damien had turned slightly, placing his own back between her and the man in the navy suit. A quiet click sounded from somewhere behind them. Damien's men moved. Fast, silent. 2 black-suited guards closed on the back row. The man in navy froze, hand trapped under his lapel. A woman screamed. The priest dropped his prayer book. Damien did not stop walking. His grip tightened around Olivia by half an inch. Nothing more. "What's happening?" Olivia whispered. "Nothing you need to fear. That isn't an answer." His mouth nearly curved. "Nearly, no," he said. "It is Tem." They reached the altar. Ethan stepped forward, panic flashing in his eyes. "Olivia," he whispered. "What are you doing?" Damien turned, still holding her. The whole church held its breath. Olivia looked at her groom. For a moment, she waited for love to rise inside her. Grief, longing, anything that might explain why she had spent 2 years convincing herself that Ethan's passivity was kindness, that his fear of conflict was gentleness, that his silence was not betrayal. But all she saw was the man who had let them hide her chair. "Did you know?" she asked. Ethan's face twisted. "Liv. Please. Not here. Did you know?" His eyes dropped. That was enough. A murmur swept through the church. "Ugly and hungry." Olivia nodded slowly. Damien's voice cut through the noise. "Answer your bride." Ethan stiffened. "This doesn't concern you." Damien looked at him with a calm so cold it seemed to strip the gold from the altar. "You hid her chair," Damien said. "You made it concern everyone." Ethan glanced toward his mother. But Vivian S.'s face warned him to stay quiet. Olivia turned to Damien. "Put me down." His eyes moved to hers. "The altar steps are marble," he said. "I know." A flicker of something passed between them, his instinct to protect. Her refusal to be displayed as rescued property. The first edge of a war. Neither of them understood yet. Slowly, Damien lowered her onto the top step with a gentleness that made her chest ache. Olivia arranged her dress around herself, set the bouquet across her lap, and faced the church. "My wheelchair was hidden from me," she said. The silence became absolute. "By my bridesmaids." With my groom's knowledge, Ethan whispered her name like a warning. She ignored him. "I was told it ruined the wedding image." Her fingers tightened around the bouquet. "I was told my existence made people uncomfortable." A camera flash went off. Vivian rose from the front pew. "This is a private family matter." Olivia turned to her. "No. It was private when they did it in a room, with the door closed. You made it public when you expected me to crawl into my own wedding." Damien's eyes found Olivia's profile. There was fascination there now. Sharp and unwilling. Ethan stepped toward her. "Liv. We can fix this." "No," she said softly. "You can tact her." "Don't do this." Olivia looked at him then. Really looked. "You did it first." The church doors opened again. Two of Damien's men entered with Olivia S. wheelchair. It had been decorated with white ribbon, as if the insult could be disguised with flowers. One wheel was bent slightly. The right brake scraped. Olivia saw the damage immediately. Her breath caught. Damien saw her face. "Who touched it?" he asked. No one answered. He looked at Madison. She flinched. "It was just moved." Madison said, "No one damaged it on purpose." Damien's silence was more frightening than a shout. Olivia reached for the chair. One of Damien's men brought it forward and locked the wheels. Damien stepped aside, giving her room. Olivia transferred herself carefully, refusing help because she needed one moment that belonged entirely to her. When she settled into the seat, the church exhaled. She took the locket at her throat and closed her fist around it. Then she looked at Ethan. "I'm not marrying you." A roar of whispers filled the church. Ethan's face went gray. Vivian lunged to her feet. Madison started crying. Though Olivia knew the tears were for herself, Damien remained beside Olivia, still as a blade. The priest looked helpless. Miss Harper Olivia lifted a hand. No ceremony. Ethan stepped closer. Desperation, breaking through the polished mask. "Olivia, listen to me. There are things you don't understand." That line, more than anything, made Damien move. He stepped between Ethan and Olivia. "What things?" Damien asked. Ethan froze. For 1 second, fear passed between the groom and the mafia boss. Olivia saw it, and suddenly the humiliation of the missing wheelchair became something bigger, darker, as if beneath the white flowers and violin music. Another story had been breathing all along. Damien leaned close to Ethan, voice low enough that only the front rows could hear. "Careful," he said. "You're about to confess." Ethan said nothing. From the back of the church, Damien's men dragged the navy-suited stranger toward the side exit. Something metal flashed beneath his jacket before it disappeared. A gun. Olivia's stomach turned. Damien looked down at her. "You need to leave." Olivia almost laughed. "I just canceled my wedding in front of 200 people. I'm not sneaking out now." Someone came armed. Her blood went cold. "For me?" she asked. His eyes held hers too long. "For me," he said. But Olivia had learned the sound of men lying to protect themselves. Damien Russo lied differently. He lied like a man protecting someone else, and that terrified her more. Outside, the wedding collapsed into chaos. Guests poured down the church steps into the bright Newport afternoon, whispering into phones and hiding excitement behind sympathy. A line of black SUVs had appeared along the curb. Engines running, windows tinted. Damien's men moved through the crowd with quiet precision. The groom's family gathered near the stone fountain like a wounded royal court. Olivia sat beneath the church archway, hands cold in her lap. Ethan tried to reach her once. Damien did not even turn around. One look from him stopped Ethan at the bottom of the steps. Vivian Whitmore came instead, her pearls trembling. "Olivia," she said, smiling for the guests watching. "You are emotional. We all understand, but this can still be managed." Olivia stared at her. Managed. Vivian leaned closer. Her perfume was expensive and suffocating. "You have no family left. No money beyond those little drawings you sell online. No one in this town will touch you after embarrassing us like this. Ethan is willing to forgive you." Damien's head turned slowly. Vivian stopped speaking. Olivia felt the danger in him before she saw it. It moved through the air, silent and predatory. "She forgives him," Damien said. "Or he disappears from public life by midnight." Vivian's face lost color. "Are you threatening my son?" "No." Damien looked at Ethan, who stood behind his mother. Sweating, "I'm giving him something he never gave his bride." What? Vivian snapped. "A choice." Olivia looked at Damien before she could stop herself. His gaze softened only slightly when it touched her. That small change was more intimate than a kiss. A reporter's voice cut through the courtyard. "Olivia, is it true your wheelchair was hidden before the ceremony?" More cameras turned. The story was already spreading. A runaway bride, a cruel groom, a mafia boss carrying her down the aisle. The scandal would be everywhere by nightfall. Olivia's chest tightened. She had spent years trying not to be an inspirational headline. A pity post. A soft tragedy for strangers to consume. Now her humiliation was becoming entertainment in real time. Damien saw her hand curl around the wheel of her chair. He stepped in front of the cameras. Every lens dropped slightly. "Move," he said. The reporters moved. Olivia should have been horrified by the power in that one word. Instead, she felt something dangerously close to relief. Damien's driver opened the door of the nearest SUV. Olivia looked at it, then at Damien. "I'm not going anywhere with you." He nodded once, as if he had expected the answer. "Good." Her eyes narrowed. "Good. A woman who climbs into a stranger's car after a wedding like that has either lost her mind or given up." His voice remained calm. "You have done neither." Despite everything, a breath of laughter escaped her. It was shaky, but real. Damien's eyes lowered to her mouth, then away. "You can take the church office until your transportation arrives," he said. "My men will stand outside. No one enters unless you allow it. I don't need your guards." "No," But someone else thinks you do. Olivia's pulse changed. What does that mean? Before he could answer, Ethan shouted from across the courtyard, Damien. The name cracked through the air. Everyone turned. Ethan pushed past his mother, face red with panic. You don't understand. She isn't part of this. Damien's expression went empty. Then why was Belandi's man in the church with a gun? The courtyard went silent. Olivia's fingers went numb. Belandi. She had heard that name before, not at dinners. Not openly. But in Ethan's late-night phone calls. In Vivian's tense whispers behind closed doors. She had thought it was a business client. Some investor from New York. Ethan's eyes darted to Olivia. Damien saw the glance. So did she. What is he talking about? Olivia asked. Ethan shook his head. Liv. Please. Damien moved closer to him. Tell her. Ethan swallowed. I can temp it. Damien's smile was cold and brief. That's unfortunate. One of Damien's men approached. Holding a phone, he whispered something in Damien's ear. Damien's gaze sharpened. Then he looked at Olivia's wheelchair. Not at Olivia. At the chair. The damaged wheel, the ribbon tangled around the frame, the underseat pouch her father had sewn there years ago when he modified the chair for her after the accident. Olivia followed his gaze. What? She asked. Damien crouched beside the chair. Olivia stiffened. Don't touch it. His hand stopped immediately. Good. She thought. At least he understood boundaries faster than her own fiancé had. There may be something inside, Damien said. Her heart started pounding. My chair. He looked at her. Your father was Michael Harper. Olivia stopped breathing. No one spoke her father's name like that anymore. Not with recognition. Not with the weight of a history she did not know. You knew my father. No. The answer was too quick. Olivia's eyes hardened. Damien held her gaze. I knew of him. What does that mean? It means he built security systems for men who believed money could keep them safe. And before he died, he hid something that 3 families have been looking for. Olivia laughed once. Stunned. My father was an accessibility engineer. He was also very good at hiding things in plain sight. The courtyard blurred around her. Her father had been gentle, brilliant, absent-minded, the kind of man who cried when Olivia's mother surprised him with a homemade cake. The kind of man who spent 6 months modifying Olivia's first chair so she could reach the kitchen shelves by herself after the crash. The crash. A wet road. A truck running a red light. Her mother screaming. Her father's hand reaching back for hers. Then hospital lights. No. Olivia pushed the memory away. What did he hide? She whispered. Damien's voice lowered. A ledger. Ethan made a strangled sound. Damien glanced at him. There it was. Confirmation. Olivia felt sick. My wedding, she said slowly, wasn't just a wedding. No one answered. Her throat tightened. Was Ethan marrying me because of my father? Ethan stepped forward. I loved you. Damien's gaze cut to him. Ethan corrected himself quickly, panic rising. I do love you. Olivia looked at the man she had almost married. 2 years of dinners, soft kisses, promises, his careful acceptance of her wheelchair, his mother's fake warmth, Madison's forced friendship. All of it began to rot under the sunlight. Did you know about this ledger? She asked. Ethan's face crumpled. That was the second time his silence ended their relationship. Olivia turned her chair away from him. She did not cry. Not then. Damien looked at her with something dangerous and almost reverent. You should come with me now, he said. Olivia's laugh was bitter. Now you want me in your car? Now you have a target on your back. Because of you, because of what your father left you. And you want it too. His eyes did not flinch. Yes, The honesty struck her harder than any comfort would have. "But I won't take it from you," Damien said. "Belandi will." Across the street, a black motorcycle slowed near the church entrance. Damien's head turned. The rider lifted something. The world exploded, not with fire, with glass. A bullet slammed into the stone wall above Olivia's head, showering her veil with white dust. Screams tore through the courtyard. Damien moved before the sound finished echoing. He seized Olivia's chair and shoved it behind the SUV as his men drew weapons and surged into formation. Another shot cracked. The front windshield spiderwebbed. Olivia's heart hammered so violently she could barely hear Damien speaking into her ear. "Stay low." She grabbed his wrist. "My chair, I have you." "No," she snapped, even through terror. "You have the handles. I have myself." For one impossible second, while bullets rang against stone and guests screamed into flower beds, Damien Russo looked at her as if she had just pulled a knife on him. Then he nodded. "Tell me what you need." The question steadied her. "Left side ramp," she said, breathless. "Not the curb." Damien moved instantly, guiding her chair toward the accessible side entrance while two guards shielded them. Olivia pushed the wheels herself, dress caught in her lap, bouquet abandoned somewhere behind them. At the ramp, Damien turned and fired once. Olivia did not look back. The SUV door opened. This time, she did not argue when he lifted her inside. Not because she trusted him, because Ethan had lied, because someone had shot at her, because whatever her father had hidden, it had just turned her wedding day into a battlefield. The SUV sped away from the church, tires screaming against the sunlit street. Olivia watched Newport blur past the tinted window. White mansions, ocean glare, tourists frozen on sidewalks. Her own reflection stared back at her, a bride in a ruined veil, dust in her hair, sitting beside a mafia boss who had carried her to an altar and then into a war. Damien sat across from her, one hand pressed to his ribs. Blood darkened his white shirt. Olivia stared. "Yuri hit. It's nothing. That is the favorite lie of men who bleed on leather seats." His eyes lifted to hers. For the first time, something almost human crossed his face. "You're calm." "I'm in shock." "No," he said. "You angry." Olivia looked out the window. "I was supposed to be married by now. You were supposed to be buried by now." The words chilled the car. She turned back. What? Damien's jaw tightened. "The shooter wasn't aiming at me." The road noise seemed to vanish. Olivia's hand gripped the edge of the seat. "You lied." "Yes." "Why?" "Because you had already lost enough in front of an audience." Her anger faltered, then returned sharper. "Done it, decide what I can handle." His eyes darkened. "No one who saw you on that altar would make the mistake of thinking you fragile." The compliment was quiet. Unwanted. It reached her anyway. Damien leaned back, face pale now. Olivia's training from years of hospitals, caregivers, and managing crises kicked in before fear could stop her. She reached for the emergency kit built into the SUV door. "Move your hand." He watched her open gauze packets with shaking fingers. "You know what you're doing. I grew up around medical equipment. I know enough to stop you from ruining the upholstery." A faint, dangerous amusement touched his mouth. Olivia pressed gauze against the wound. He inhaled once, controlled and silent. "You can feel pain," she said. "Unfortunately, I thought mafia bosses were made of stone." "No," he said, eyes on hers. "Stone doesn't remember." The air changed. Too close, too charged. Her hand rested against his ribs. His blood warmed her palm through the gauze. The SUV swayed around a turn. and his knee brushed the edge of her dress. Olivia should have pulled away. She did. Too late. Damien noticed. Of course he noticed. When the SUV reached Boston that evening, rain had started. Not a soft rain, but a hard silver one that turned the city into streaks of neon and glass. Damien's penthouse rose above the harbor. All black steel, private elevators, and men with earpieces who stared straight ahead as Olivia entered in a torn wedding gown and borrowed silence. Her wheelchair had been repaired enough to roll, but one wheel still dragged slightly. Damien noticed every uneven sound. He said nothing. That irritated her more than pity would have. The penthouse was not warm. It was beautiful in the way museums were, beautiful expensive. Curated. Impossible to relax in. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the stormy water. A black grand piano sat unused near the fireplace. On one wall hung a painting of a woman standing alone at a shoreline. Her red dress whipped by invisible wind. Olivia stopped in front of it. "She looks like she's waiting for someone who won't come back," she said. Damien watched her from across the room. "She isn't waiting." "No, she just watched him drown." Olivia turned. He did not smile. A doctor arrived to treat Damien's wound. Then a woman named Rosa brought clothes. To do. In a room on the east side of the penthouse with an accessible bathroom that seemed too thoughtfully prepared to be accidental. Olivia noticed. Damien noticed her noticing. "My sister used this room," he said before she asked. "You have a sister had." The word closed a door. Olivia let it stay closed. That night, she could not sleep. The borrowed black robe was too soft. The bed was too large. The city below looked like a living thing made of lights and secrets. At Doi Trace Brzecha, A.M., she rolled into the hallway. Damien stood in the main room. Shirt changed. Sleeves rolled. Phone to his ear. His voice was low and deadly. "I don't care what Belandi promised, Whitmore. Find the driver who hit the Harper car 12 years ago." Olivia stopped breathing. The wheel creaked beneath her hand. Damien turned. Their eyes met across the dark room. He ended the call. Slowly. Olivia rolled toward him. "What did you just say?" His face gave nothing away. "You should be asleep. You should be honest. That would make both of us uncomfortable." Damien, it was the first time she said his name without anger. He heard the difference. For a moment, he looked older. Tired in a way no blood loss could explain. "Your family's crash was not an accident." Olivia's body went cold. "No." The truck driver disappeared 3 days later. His account received a payment from a company owned by a Belandi shell corporation. "No." Her voice cracked this time. Damien took one step toward her, then stopped himself. The restraint hurt worse than touch. "My father died," Olivia whispered. "My mother died. I spent 8 months learning how to live in a body the world suddenly treated like a problem." "I know. You know." Her anger burst through the shock. "You know. You stood in that church while I almost married into the family that covered it up. I didn't know Ethan was close enough to you until 6 weeks ago." 6 weeks, Damien said nothing. Olivia laughed. Breathless and wounded. "You investigated me. I investigated Whitmore. And found me." "Yes." "Did you watch me?" His silence was damning. Olivia's stomach twisted. "Hidden surveillance," she whispered. "Of course. Of course you did. Only after Belandi's men started circling your apartment. That doesn't make it better." "No." "Did Ethan know about the crash?" Damien's jaw tightened. Olivia's pulse became a roar. "Answer me." "We don't have proof." "That isn't an answer either." He looked at her then. And there it was, the thing beneath his control. Rage. Not loud. Not wild. A black, endless rage that had survived years by learning to wear a suit. I think Ethan was sent to marry you because your father's inheritance transfers to your spouse if you die without children. Olivia stared. The room tilted. I don't have children. I know. She flinched at the certainty. Damien continued, voice carefully even. But your father left a trust in your name. Land on the harbor. Access tunnels beneath 3 properties. Security patents worth millions. And something Belandi fears more than money. The ledger. Yes. Olivia looked down at her hands. Her wedding ring was still on her finger. She pulled it off slowly. The diamond caught the city lights, sparkling like a lie. Then she threw it across Damien Rousseau's perfect living room. It struck the marble floor and vanished beneath the piano. Neither of them moved. I want to go home, Olivia said. You can tem. She looked up. You don't get to imprison me because it's convenient. No. His voice was quiet. Sure. I get to ask you to stay alive long enough to hate me properly. That stopped her. He stepped closer then. Not enough to crowd her, but enough that she could see the exhaustion at the edges of his eyes. Belandi will come for you. Ethan will come for the trust. The press will camp outside your building. Your chair was not hidden by cruel girls playing wedding games. It was searched. Someone damaged the frame looking for what your father hid. Olivia's throat tightened. My chair is not a hiding place. No, Damien said. It's something no one in that church respected enough to examine carefully. The truth was brutal. And likely, Olivia closed her eyes. What do you want from me? The ledger. At least you're honest. No, he said. I am honest with you. There is a difference. She opened her eyes. That difference should not have mattered. It did. By morning, Olivia Harper was dead on the internet. Not literally. Worse, she was a headline. Bride abandons groom after wheelchair scandal. Mafia boss carries disabled bride down aisle. Runaway bride or Rousseau's new obsession. The footage had gone viral overnight. Damien carrying her. Ethan frozen at the altar. Olivia announcing the truth in a shaking voice that somehow sounded stronger on video than it had felt in her body. The comments were a battlefield. Some called her brave. Some called her dramatic. Some romanticized Damien's arms around her as if she had not been shot at 20 minutes later. Others accused her of staging the entire thing. Then came the worst one. A clip from Madison. She stood in front of the church, eyes red, voice trembling beautifully for the camera. We were only trying to help Olivia feel normal on her special day. Madison said, she has always been very sensitive about her condition. We loved her. We still do. Olivia watched the video 3 times. On the 4th, Damien took the tablet from her hands and threw it into the fireplace. The screen cracked before the flames caught. Olivia stared at him. That was not yours. I'll buy you another. That isn't the point. I know. Then why did you do it? His eyes burned in the firelight. Because she used the word normal like a weapon. Olivia's anger dissolved too quickly. She hated that. You can burn everything that hurts me. Damien looked at the tablet, disappearing in flames. No, he said, but I can start with the small things. The line should have sounded absurd. Instead, it sounded like danger, wearing devotion, S-coat. That afternoon, Damien's lawyer arrived with a plan, a fake engagement. Olivia laughed so hard, Rosa rushed in from the kitchen. No, Olivia said, still laughing. Absolutely not. Damien stood by the window, arms folded, expression unreadable. It protects you legally, the lawyer said. If the Whitmores argue emotional instability or attempt control through marriage contracts, I canceled a wedding yesterday. I'm not announcing an engagement to a mafia boss today. You would not need to announce it, Damien said. Olivia turned on him. The internet saw you carry me down the aisle. They've already married us in comment sections. His mouth moved as if suppressing a smile. Then the story is useful. No, the story is humiliating. His expression changed at once. Olivia regretted the sharpness, but not enough to take it back. I will not become your shield, she said, or your bait, or whatever men like you call women when you decide our lives are useful. Damien crossed the room slowly. The lawyer went silent. Damien stopped an arm's length away. You would never be my shield, he said. Olivia held his gaze. His voice dropped. You would be the reason I burned the battlefield. The room seemed to lose air. Olivia felt the pull of him then, and it frightened her. Not because he was handsome, though he was in a severe, dangerous way. Not because he had power. She had seen powerful men use women as decoration and excuse. It frightened her because Damien Russo looked at her as if every insult she had survived had been entered into a private ledger of his own. As if someday, someone would pay. I don't trust you, she whispered. I know. I'm afraid of you. You should be. Her breath caught. But not because I would hurt you, he added. Because I may hurt everyone who does. The lawyer cleared his throat and pretended not to be alive. Olivia looked away first. That evening, they opened her wheelchair. Not violently. Not like thieves. Damien had an adaptive equipment specialist brought in. A woman named Tessa, who spoke to Olivia instead of over her, asked permission before touching anything, and glared at Damien when he stepped too close. Olivia liked her immediately. Under the damaged right side panel, behind a seam Olivia had never noticed, they found a narrow metal capsule. Inside was a drive and a note. Olivia knew her father's handwriting before she read the first word. Livy, if you are reading this, I failed to keep the storm away from you. I am sorry. You were never the reason they came for us. You were the reason I tried to stop them. Trust no one who wants you quiet. Trust the man who gives you back your choice, not the one who carries you, the one who lets you decide where to go after. Dad Olivia's hands shook so badly the paper blurred. Damien stood across the room, very still. He had carried her, but he had also asked. He had lied, watched, manipulated. He had protected her. He had wanted the ledger. He had given her the choice to read the note first. Alone if she wanted. Olivia looked up. You think this means you? His face remained unreadable. I think your father was smarter than both of us. She almost smiled. Almost. The drive contained enough to destroy 3 families. Names, payments, police contacts, judges, properties, shell companies, proof that Belandi ordered the crash that killed Olivia's parents after Michael Harper refused to keep laundering security access through his company. Proof that Ethan's father helped bury the report. Proof that Ethan had agreed to marry Olivia to secure the trust before Belandi found the ledger. And one file that made Damien leave the room without a word. Olivia followed him to the hallway. He stood with one hand against the wall, head bowed. What was in that file, she asked. He did not answer. Damien. His eyes closed. My brother. The words came out flat. Olivia waited. Damien turned. Luca Russo was killed 6 years ago in a warehouse fire. Belandi said it was retaliation for a broken deal. I believed him. And the ledger shows Ethan Whitmore signed the access order that locked the doors. Olivia's chest tightened. Ethan killed your brother. Ethan helped. Rain lashed the windows at the end of the hallway. Damien looked almost calm. Too calm. Olivia recognized it now. The stillness before violence. Don't go, she said. His eyes lifted to hers. The words surprised them both. She forced herself to continue. Not tonight. Not like this. He burned my brother alive. Her voice softened. And if you walk out that door now, Belandi gets exactly what he wants. You become the monster everyone already thinks you are. Damien's jaw clenched. I am that monster. No. Olivia rolled closer. Yuri, worse. Something flickered in his eyes. Worse. You know when Yuri choosing it. Silence. Then Damien laughed once. Quietly. Without humor. You should have married a kinder man. I didn't marry anyone. His gaze dropped to her bare ring finger. No, he said. You didn't destom. For a moment. The hallway disappeared. There was only the storm. The space between them. And the terrible knowledge that attraction did not wait for safety. It grew in impossible places. Beneath betrayal. Beside grief. In the moment, a dangerous man almost reached for a woman's face and stopped himself because she had not invited him. Olivia saw the movement. The restraint, her own voice came out barely above a whisper. Why did you stop? Damien's eyes darkened. Because if I touch you tonight, I will pretend it is comfort. And it would be no. What would it be? He leaned closer. One hand gripping the wall beside him. A mistake I would not regret. Olivia's heart slammed once. Rosa appeared at the far end of the hall with forced cheer and a tray of tea, saving them from whatever came next, or delaying it. Over the next week, Olivia learned that forced proximity was not romantic when it came with armed exits and legal strategy meetings. It was exhausting. Damien's penthouse became a gilded bunker. Her old apartment was ransacked 2 days after the wedding. A reporter bribed the doorman. Ethan sent 43 messages, each more desperate than the last. Madison released another tearful video. Vivian filed a petition claiming Olivia had been emotionally manipulated by Damien Russo and was unfit to control her inheritance. Olivia gave one interview, not from weakness, from rage. She sat in Damien's library wearing a navy dress Rosa had tailored for her chair. Her hair loose over one shoulder. No veil. No tears. No soft tragedy. My wheelchair is not a prop. She told the camera. It is not something to hide for photographs. It is not a symbol of failure. It is part of how I live. The people who removed it from me did not love me poorly. They chose control and called it love. The clip broke the internet again. This time, the world shifted. Disabled women posted their own stories. Brides shared photos of wheelchairs decorated with flowers and lights and pride. Designers offered to build Olivia a custom chair for free. The Whitmore's Foundation lost sponsors. Madison's videos disappeared. Damien watched the interview from the doorway. When it ended, he said nothing. Olivia turned. No comment, his eyes moved over her face. I was wrong. That was unexpected. About what? I thought your father's ledger was the most dangerous thing in this city. Olivia's throat tightened. And now I think it's you. She should not have blushed. She did. Damien noticed. Of course he noticed. That night, Belandi made his move. The power went out at 1:14 p.m. The penthouse dropped into darkness. For 1 second, there was only rain against glass and the soft mechanical hum of backup systems failing one by one. Then red emergency lights flickered on. Damien appeared in Olivia's doorway before she could call his name. Stay behind me. She was already transferring into her chair. No. His expression sharpened. We do not have time for your independence. My independence is not a decoration you praise when it's convenient. A crash echoed from below. Damien swore softly in Italian. Olivia grabbed the emergency bag Tessa had prepared and clipped it beneath her chair. Where is the service elevator compromised? Stairwell. 28 floors. She looked at him. He understood. For the first time, Real fear touched his face. Not fear of bullets, not fear of enemies, but fear of the world's architecture betraying her while men came to kill them. Olivia's voice steadied. Then we use the freight lift. It's manual. I know, Tessa showed me. Damian stared. When? When? You were pretending not to hover. A gunshot cracked somewhere below. The penthouse alarm screamed. Damian's men rushed past the hallway. Smoke began to curl under the far door. Olivia moved fast, pushing toward the service corridor. Damian stayed beside her. Not behind. Not in front until the first attacker emerged from the shadows. Then he became something else. Cold, precise, terrifying. He disarmed the man in 3 movements and left him unconscious against the wall. No flourish. No wasted violence. Olivia had seen anger in men before. Messy and loud. Damian's violence was quiet discipline. And that made it worse. At the freight lift, the manual crank had jammed. Olivia dropped from her chair to reach the lower release lever before Damian could stop her. Olivia. Dantan. The sharpness in her voice froze him. She worked the lever with both hands, dress twisted around her knees, palms burning. The lift groaned. Behind them, footsteps pounded closer. Damian fired down the hall. Once, twice. The lift gate opened. Go, he said. Olivia transferred back into her chair with brutal effort. Damian grabbed the handles, then stopped. He looked at her. Even with smoke filling the corridor and enemies closing in, he waited. Olivia nodded. Together, they entered the lift. Halfway down, the power returned. Not fully. Wrongly, the lift jolted to a stop between floors. Olivia slammed into Damian's chest. His arms closed around her instinctively. For a second, his heartbeat thundered beneath her ear. Below them, the shaft doors opened. A man looked up and smiled. Russo, he called. Belandi wants the bride. Damian's body went very still. Olivia whispered, I am so tired of men deciding I am transferable. Damian looked down at her. Then he did something insane. He smiled. Not warmly, not kindly, proudly. He pressed a knife into her hand. Then tell him. The man below raised his gun. Olivia threw the emergency flare from Tessa's bag. It burst red against the man's chest, blinding him long enough for Damian to shoot the pulley lock. The lift dropped 5 feet, slammed into the lower safety brake, and threw the gate open. Damian lifted Olivia, not as a savior this time, but as a partner in escape, and set her into her chair. The second they hit the garage, black SUVs surrounded the exit. Not Damian's ants, Belandi Sam. Their headlights cut through the smoke like white blades. At the center of them stood Ethan Whitmore. He looked ruined. No perfect hair now. No wedding smile. Just a man who had traded his soul and found out the price had increased. Liv, he called. Please, come with me. And this ends. Olivia stared at him across the garage. You hid my chair. His face twisted. I was trying to save you. Damian's laugh was soft and lethal. Ethan's eyes flicked to him. You think he cares about you. He wants the ledger. He wants revenge. I know what he wants. Olivia said. Damian looked at her. She felt the weight of his gaze but did not turn. Ethan stepped forward. I never wanted you dead. That is the lowest confession I have ever heard. His face flushed. Then another voice came from the darkness. Enough. Carlo Belandi stepped into the headlights. Older, elegant, silver-haired. A man who looked like he belonged in private clubs and charity galas, not behind dead families and wedding day assassins. His eyes settled on Olivia with mild disappointment. Your father caused a great deal of trouble. Olivia's hands tightened on her wheels. My father refused to help you. Same thing. In my world. Damien moved forward. Belandi's men raised their weapons. Olivia grabbed Damien's sleeve. He stopped, barely. Belandi smiled. How touching. The little bride has taught the wolf manners. Damien's voice was ice. Speak to her again and die first. Belandi's smile widened. First, he said. Interesting choice. The garage doors began to close behind him. A trap. Olivia saw Damien calculating. Too many men. Not enough exits. His guards cut off upstairs. Belandi had planned this well. Then Olivia noticed the press vans outside the far entrance. Power outage. Fire alarms. Wedding scandal. Of course, reporters had followed. She reached into her emergency bag and pulled out the tiny device Damien's lawyer had given her for recording interviews. Damien saw it. His eyes sharpened. Olivia turned it on. Then she pushed her chair forward. Damien hissed her name. She ignored him. Belandi watched. Amused. Careful. Olivia stopped in the headlights. White wedding dress still torn from the day she had escaped the altar. You arranged the crash that killed my parents, she said clearly. Belandi's smile faded by 1 degree. Ethan's face went white. Olivia continued. Voice shaking but loud. You had Michael Harper murdered because he collected proof of your crimes. You sent Ethan to marry me for my inheritance. You sent a gunman to my wedding. And now you are here to kill me for the ledger. Belandi stared at her. Then he laughed. You really think anyone will believe a hysterical bride hiding behind Damien Russo? Olivia lifted the recorder. No, she said. I think they'll believe you. Behind Belandi, one of the press vans shifted. A camera light flickered on. Rosa had done her part. So had Tessa. So had every person Damien thought was merely staff, and Olivia had recognized as human. Belandi turned too late. The garage filled with shouts. Damien moved. His men came through the side entrance. Weapons drawn. Led by a limping Rosa with a shotgun and an expression that suggested she had been waiting years for this moment. Police sirens screamed in the distance, not ordinary police. Damien had warned her. But federal agents his lawyer had contacted once, Olivia agreed to release the ledger publicly. Chaos erupted. Belandi reached for Olivia. Damien hit him so hard the older man slammed into the hood of an SUV. Ethan grabbed Olivia's chair from behind. For 1 blinding second, terror dragged her backward, 12 years, to the crash. The helplessness. Her body trapped while men decided what she would lose. Then Olivia slammed her elbow into Ethan's ribs, shoved 1 wheel hard, and spun the chair into his knees. He fell. She rolled over his hand. He screamed. Damien looked over. Olivia breathed hard. Don't, she warned. I handled it. For the first time in the middle of a mafia war, Damien Russo looked almost happy. Then a shot rang out. Olivia did not feel the impact at first. She saw Damien's face change. That was how she knew. The bullet meant for him had struck her shoulder. Her body folded sideways. Damien caught her before she hit the concrete. His voice broke around her name. Not loudly. Worse. Like something had been ripped out of him. Olivia. The garage blurred. Sirens. Rain. Men shouting. Ethan crying. Belandi cursing as federal agents forced him down. Damien held Olivia against him. One hand pressed over the wound. The other cradling the back of her head. She tried to speak. Nothing came. His face hovered above hers. All control gone now. The feared Damien Russo. The wolf of Boston. The man who did not kneel for anyone. On his knees in a parking garage. Holding a woman in a torn wedding dress as if the world had finally found the one place it could hurt him. Stay with me, he said. Olivia blinked slowly. You're very bossy. A broken sound left him. Almost a laugh. Almost a sob. Yes, he whispered. Live and complain about it. Her eyes fluttered. Damien, I'm here. Don, kill everyone. His mouth tightened. Define everyone. Despite the pain, she almost smiled. Then the darkness took her. When Olivia woke, she was not in Damien's penthouse. She was in a private hospital suite overlooking the harbor. Morning light poured through pale curtains. Machines beeped softly beside her. Her shoulder burned. Her mouth tasted like cotton. Damien sat beside the bed, not sleeping. Of course not. His shirt was wrinkled. His jaw shadowed. His hands, those careful, violent hands, rested clasped between his knees. There was blood on one cuff he had not noticed. Olivia watched him for a moment before speaking. You look terrible. His eyes snapped to hers. The relief that crossed his face was raw enough to hurt. Then it vanished behind control. You were shot. I gathered. You almost died. I didn't. His jaw tightened. You shouldn't have stepped forward. You should have brought a mafia war to my canceled wedding. A breath passed between them. Then Damien bowed his head. I know. Olivia studied him. This apology was not polished, not strategic. It looked like it had been dragged from somewhere deep and unwilling. I released the ledger, he said. All of it. Federal custody. Multiple newsrooms. No family can bury it now. And Belandi arrested. Ethan alive. She narrowed her eyes. Damien looked faintly offended. You asked me not to kill everyone? I'm proud of your restraint. You shouldn't be. It was unpleasant. This time, Olivia laughed, then winced. Damien stood immediately, reaching for her, then stopped himself, still asking without asking. Her chest ached for reasons that had nothing to do with the bullet. You can help me sit up, she said. He moved carefully, one arm behind her back, adjusting the pillows with almost painful focus. His face was inches from hers. She could see the faint cut along his cheek, the sleepless bruising under his eyes. When she settled back, his hand remained near her shoulder, not touching, waiting. Olivia looked at it, then at him. You are not easy to trust, she said. No. You lied to me. Yes. You watched me. Yes. You wanted the ledger. Yes. And somewhere in the middle of all that, you decided I belonged to you. His eyes darkened. No. Olivia went still. Damien's voice lowered. I decided I belonged to you. That was the problem. The room fell silent. Outside, gulls cried over the harbor. Olivia's throat tightened. Damien, I don't know how to love gently, he said. I don't know how to want without turning it into war. I know how to protect. I know how to punish. I know how to wait outside a door all night because the thought of you waking afraid makes me physically incapable of leaving. Her heart moved painfully. He looked away. I am not the man your father would have chosen for you. No, Olivia whispered. But my father told me to trust the man who gave me back my choice. Damien's eyes returned to hers. And do you? She was quiet for a long moment. I'm learning. For Damien Russo. It seemed to be enough. 3 weeks later, Olivia returned to the church. Not for Ethan. Not for closure. For herself. The wedding flowers had been removed. The scandal had stripped the Whitmores of their polished reputation. Vivian had fled to Europe before federal subpoenas reached her. Madison had issued an apology that Olivia did not accept because it still sounded like a performance. Ethan, facing charges, had written 7 letters. Olivia burned none of them. She simply did not read them. That morning, the church was empty except for sunlight, dust, and Damien waiting beside the aisle. Her new wheelchair gleamed beneath her custom-built, elegant, strong, with silver detailing inspired by the locket her father had given her. Not hidden, not softened, not disguised with ribbons to make strangers comfortable. Rosa stood near the doors with a tissue. Tessa adjusted the brake one final time. Damien's set men waited outside with the SUVs, pretending not to watch through the stained glass. Olivia rolled down the aisle alone. Slowly, beautifully. Every turn of the wheels echoed through the church like an answer. At the altar steps, Damien waited in a black suit, no tie, hands at his sides. He did not come forward. That mattered. Olivia stopped before him. "Last time I came down this aisle," she said, "you carried me." His eyes softened. "Last time, they stole your chair. And this time, Damien said, "I wouldn't dare." She smiled. A real smile this time, the kind that changed his face before he could hide it. Olivia looked around the church where she had been humiliated, exposed, and almost killed. She expected pain to rise. It did, but it did not own the room anymore. "This place felt like the end of me," she said. Damien stepped closer. Still careful. Always careful now. It was 10. "No." She looked up at him. "It was the end of who they thought I was." He held her gaze for a long moment. Then he reached into his jacket and withdrew something small. Not a ring, a folded paper. Olivia took it. It was the deed to the Harper Harbor property, restored fully to her name. No conditions, no marriage clause, no protection contract, no hidden ownership beneath Damien S. empire. Her fingers trembled. "You gave it back." "It was never mine. You could have used it." "Yes, but you didn't." "No." Why Damien's voice was quiet. Because love that takes your choices is just another kind of cage. Olivia's eyes filled before she could stop them. He noticed his hand rose slightly, then stopped. She caught his fingers. That was her answer. His hand closed around hers with controlled reverence, as if he were holding something far more dangerous than any weapon. For a while, they stayed like that beneath the stained glass. Then Olivia said, "I'm not marrying you today." Damien's mouth curved. "No. Maybe not soon." "No. You were going to be difficult." "Yes. I'm going to be difficult too. I'm counting on it." She laughed softly. The sound moved through the empty church like music. Damien lowered himself to one knee before her, not because she needed him lower, not because he was performing devotion for an audience, but because this time there was no audience at all. Only Olivia. Only choice. Only a dangerous man who had once carried her through a church full of cruelty and now waited for permission to touch her hand. "I will not promise you a peaceful life," he said. "I know. I will not pretend my world is safe. I know. I will try to leave the blood outside the door." Her thumb brushed over his knuckles. "That would be appreciated." His eyes almost smiled. "But I can promise you this," Damien said. "No room will hide you. No family will trade you. No man will decide your worth while I breathe." Olivia's heart trembled. "And if I decide I don't want you breathing so close, then I step back." She studied him. Even if it hurts, his answer came without hesitation. Especially then. That was the moment Olivia understood. Damien Russo's devotion would always be dangerous. It would always carry shadows, enemies, and the weight of a world she had never asked to enter. But he had learned the one thing Ethan never had. Love was not possession. Protection was not control. And carrying a woman meant nothing if you could not also watch her move away with her head high. Olivia leaned forward. Damien went still. She kissed him first. Not because he had saved her. Not because the world expected the bride and the mafia boss to become a story. Because she chose him. His breath caught against her mouth. For one fragile second. The feared man forgot how to be feared. Then his hand rose to her face, gentle and trembling with restraint. And he kissed her back like a vow he had no right to make, but would spend the rest of his life earning. Outside, black SUVs waited beneath a bright morning sky. Inside, the church doors stood open. Olivia Harper rolled out beside Damien Russo. Not hidden. Not carried. Not erased. At the top of the steps, reporters waited beyond the gates. Cameras lifted. The world wanted another image. So Olivia gave them one. She took Damien's hand. He looked down at her. Dangerous and devoted. The city's most feared man, standing beside the woman everyone had tried to make invisible. And when the cameras flashed, Olivia did not flinch. She smiled. Because this time, every person watching understood the truth. The bride had not been rescued from her wheelchair. She had been rescued from the people who thought hiding it could hide her power. And Damien Russo, the man who had carried her down the aisle, where he would spend the rest of his life remembering the moment she taught him the difference. Some women are not saved by dangerous men. Some women make dangerous men kneel.